ready for the first round of Modern here on Saturday from the Magic Online Championship. Hello and welcome to coverage of the Magic Online Championship. I'm Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with Luis Scott Vargas, and we're heading into the final stretch of the Swiss rounds here. We've got Sam Black versus Magnus Lanto in Modern. I know a lot of you at home have been eagerly awaiting the start of the Modern rounds, and I'm sure you're going to be curious about what Sam Black has brought to the table specifically because he's known to be such a brewer, and we will find that for you here in just a minute as the players are just about ready to get into their match here.
It's kind of funny. So, I know a lot of what went into Sam's preparation because we're on the same team, and he was deciding between a variety of different decks and almost played blue, red, white Nahiri, but instead he ran with this Teamer Tireless Tracker deck, and as you can see in his opening hand, he's got Tireless Tracker, Eternal Witness, Lightning Bolt, and Gataxian Probe. It's like a blue red green value deck that uses Traverse the Ulvenwald, Tireless Tracker, and a bunch of removal spells and creatures that give you 2-for-1s.
Yeah,
it's a very cool deck.
Make no mistake, Sam has brought a brew to the table here. This is a brand new deck that we haven't seen in Modern yet. Traverse the Ulvenwald, he's playing a full 4 of those.
Whereas he's facing against Dredgevine. So this is one of the linear decks I was talking about, and is a new one thanks to the card Prized Amalgam. So the goal is to get as many cards into your graveyard as possible, and you start off with things like Faithless Looting, for example, and then you dredge cards like Golgari Grave Troll or Stinkweed Imp, which replaces your draw step by milling you for 5 or 6.
Mm-hmm.
That puts cards like Prized Amalgam into the graveyard or Bloodghast, and then when you play a land, let's say you bring a Bloodghast back, Prized Amalgam comes back, or if you hit a Narcomoeba with your dredge. So Magnus is just trying to get an unfair amount of creatures into play as quickly as possible without putting spells in the stack or spending mana. So he's breaking a lot of the fundamental rules of Magic.
This matchup is going to be super cool.
And Sam has a kind of interesting turn 1 play, actually, since he got to see Magnus's hand with Gataxian Probe, and whether he wants to play Steam Vents untapped to keep Lightning Bolt up or not. Another big reason that this Dredgevine deck is becoming popular, and actually there's multiple copies of it here in the Magic Online Championships, is actually the card just got drawn, Insolent Neonate. It's the perfect card for Dredge because you sacrifice it, which could trigger cards like Bridge from Below if you end up playing it, though these particular versions don't have it. But then you choose to discard a card and then you draw a card. So you can discard a Grave Troll and dredge it immediately, and it's a cheap creature to trigger Vengevine. Vengevine says if you play 2 creatures, you get to play me from the graveyard.
Wow, that is perfect. Okay, so Sam decided to play his land tapped. That led to Golgari Great. Whoa, a Lotleth Troll. Look at this.
So Sam led the turn by Lightning Bolting. Magnus is going to save the Lotleth Troll by discarding 3 creatures. Then Sam's going to go untap Steam Vents, Lightning Bolt again.
Yeah, he's just going to play a Vents or a Scalding Tarn and just zap that thing. Now, how bad is this for Lanto? Because, just sitting here, this looks horrific.
It looks like he's actually just going to get a Stomping Ground instead, but it ends up, in the same way. Well, it's not as bad as you think, because one of the things when you're playing with Dredge is a lot of the game is actually has to do with the graveyard here. So right now, Magnus has Golgari Grave Troll and Stinkweed Imp to dredge. He has a Bloodghast in hand, which if he can discard it, does come back from the graveyard, and he has that Prized Amalgam, which he's actually choosing to just discard Bloodghast. He's just choosing to put it into the graveyard.
He'd rather just have it there.
And so one of the things that Magnus is looking to do is he would love red mana, but he might be in a spot where it's just better, instead of drawing for his turn, he could just dredge Grave Troll. He did choose to draw, and now he's going to be able to play Lotleth Troll. But this is one of the least explosive starts the Dredge deck can get. And because he doesn't have red mana, he's kind of in a spot where if you're just drawing from your deck when you have dredgers, that's usually not the position you want to be in.
I'm just going to leave the graveyard of Magnus Lanto popped out over here so that we can keep an eye on it, because it is such an important part of the equation for this deck. And we see Snapcaster Mage is going to flash back Lightning Bolt, which is once again going to target the Lotleth Troll while the shields are down, and that's going to work as well. So a pair of Lotleth Trolls have hit the battlefield for Magnus Lanto, and both of them are now in the graveyard. Sam Black keeping the board stable here thanks to his multiple. That was the third lightning bolt. Wow, and another Lotleth troll off the
Is
top.
Magnus
for
Lanto just
Lanto.
dredging Lotleth trolls every turn
Apparently.
from the top of his deck?
Is that how that works? Oh, a gut shot off the top, though, for Sam.
Well,
He
it's
does know about the neonate. Though.
Yeah. So what Sam can do, though, is he can go Eternal Witness, get back Bolt, cast the fourth lightning bolt of the game to kill Lotleth troll.
He'll kick things off by attacking with the Snapcaster Mage. And it looks like he's actually going to let that Lotleth troll stick on the battlefield for a turn here, possibly.
Yeah.
There's Tireless Tracker.
And we see a synergy here between Tireless Tracker, which gives you a clue whenever you play a land, and Scalding Tarn. The fetch lands do double trigger Tireless Tracker, so Sam is not going to run out of clues here. He may not have the time to crack all of them, but he's certainly not going to fall short.
All right, it looks like he's going to dredge this time. And you can see he's put a couple of Faithless Lootings into his graveyard, thanks to the dredge from the Golgari Grave Troll there. Also a Rotting Rats that has Unearth.
Well, Rotting Rats is interesting because it triggers Prized Amalgam. That's why the inclusion of
Yep.
the card that is not is not frequently seen and constructed, but it also makes each player discard a card, so you get to put that Grave Troll right back in the graveyard. Though Magnus may actually want to discard both of his creatures to Lotleth Troll instead of discarding a card to Rotting Rats. He could end up with a 4/3 Lotleth Troll.
He can do that in response.
Yeah, the drawback being that Sam can still just Eternal Witness Lightning Bolt it, so he's decided to keep the Neonate in hand for now.
Sam actually discarded Gutshot, it looks like.
Yeah, because it can't actually kill the Lotleth Troll, it's not as effective, and he wanted to keep a land maybe for the Tireless Tracker. But
Yeah, and here we go again at Wooded Foothills, and these clue tokens are just piling up here for Sam Black. And as you're going to see, especially as he gets to this mid to late stage of the game, the Tireless Tracker can just get huge.
that's the other thing is it's not just a card draw mechanism; it's also an actual threat.
Right.
And you see Sam, working the Tireless Tracker. If he does crack a clue, though, he's not able to play Witness plus Lightning Bolt, so because that takes 4 mana, so he may want to do that.
Does he need to do that now? Like, how important is Lotleth Troll to?
It's not a huge threat. Magnus doesn't have a bunch of cards in hand, so it's not going to grow as big as the previous one would have been a real problem. So
Can block and regenerate on that Tireless Tracker for a while, so he may still want to take the time to get rid of it.
Here's another one, Mishra's Bauble. So it's essentially a 0 mana cycler. You draw a card at the beginning of the next upkeep, but what it does is it looks at the top card of the target player's library, and then next turn you draw. Well, the purpose of this card is twofold. One, it grows your Tarmogoyf, since Sam has 4 Tarmogoyfs. It also makes your Traverse the Ulvenwald hit Delirium faster.
That's sweet.
So Sam is running a bunch of different synergies, and in general, these mid-range blue decks are what Dredge wants to play against, but because Magnus has found himself in a situation where his mana isn't cooperating, remember this is a three-color deck that needs not very many lands in play because it skips so many of its draws because of dredging. So now that he's got just 2 lands in play and only can produce black and green mana, Magnus isn't really going off, whereas normally the Dredgevine deck is pretty solid against a deck that's not killing them. Sam using Tireless Tracker to make his deck a little more proactive than it would be normally, which I hear is one of the keys to the format. With the other being having a plan for linear decks like, say, Dredgevine.
Oh, look at you. Wait till we get to sideboarding, huh?
Oh, yeah.
All right, so Snapcaster Mage is going to hit the red zone here, dropping Lanto down to 15 life. And now we're going to see Eternal Witness.
Yeah, that's the most mana efficient place to spend your 3 mana here.
Oh, he's actually not going to.
But one reason to wait on Eternal Witness is it gives you more information to wait. You first of all, you get the card from Mishra's Bauble, and you get to sack a clue. So if you sack a clue and draw a Lightning Bolt, for example, you'd rather witness back maybe like a Gitaxian Probe or something else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Sam's got 7 cards in his graveyard here as well. Very, very much a graveyard-centric deck with the Eternal Witnesses and the Snapcaster Mages.
Sam could block here, but if he cracks a clue first, if he draws a Lightning Bolt, then the block is a lot safer. The problem is if he blocks, Magnus discards both of his cards to the Lotleth Troll, and then it kills the Tireless Tracker and regenerates. So.
Right, so he's just going to have to take the hit here.
But Tracker
Curious if Magnus is just going to discard anyway. Yeah, he is.
He might be in a spot where he just has to discard all of his creatures. Yeah. So given that, then he would have been slightly better served by doing that in response to the Rotting Rats the turn prior, because he ended up discarding a Grave Troll just to the Rotting Rats effect. So the Lotless Troll would be one bigger. Sam's in really good shape now, because even though Magnus always has the capability of, like, dredging back 3 prized amalgams and a Narcomoeba, and then all of a sudden triggering the Narcomoeba, and then all the amalgams come back. Right now, Sam has way bigger creatures than Magnus and has a bunch of cards, and every turn is drawing multiple cards.
Mm-hmm. He's got a second copy of Tireless Tracker at the ready as well, which is going to fuel that late game card draw engine and put another huge creature out. So things really rolling.
I don't believe Sam is planning on playing Tireless Tracker this turn, because
right.
Otherwise he would have played it before cracking the clue, but he did draw a Tarmogoyf, which that is the sort of thing he's looking for here. He might actually even pay 2 life to Steam Vince just to be able to draw another card with a clue.
Nice attack here for Sam Black. He's going to get in for 6.
Yeah, he's putting Magnus on pretty close to a 2-turn clock, and Magnus is just blocking with the Amalgam, because he figures that if he doesn't bring back Amalgam next turn, he's probably not having a very explosive turn, and that's kind of what he needs to win the game anyway. So he might as well hedge on that.
Sam's going to play his land tapped. He is going to draw another land off of the Mishra's Bauble trigger. Yeah, this draw has not really cooperated with Lanto. You can see his graveyard has gotten pretty nice here. He's got a Bloodghast. There's a Vengevine in the yard. There's a Gravecrawler, which he does get to play because Lotless Troll is a zombie.
Yep, and that's another one of the synergies going on here.
Mm-hmm.
And
unfortunately, Gravecrawler's just not doing a lot.
No, and then Prized Amalgam comes back, but it will be tapped, because the zombies they enter slowly. That's the zombie shamble.
They're crawling, yeah. And we're going to see the Lotless Troll grow ever bigger here as this Golgari Grave Troll is going to get discarded.
Lotless Troll does have regeneration, so it does keep back some of Sam's threats. It can't kill Tarmogoyf for Tireless Tracker, so they can both attack, but it will be able to at least block one of them.
Man, Sam is just going off.
Yeah, he's got tons of clues in play. Like I said, he's going to end up with way more clues than he can ever crack over the course of the game, which is a nice ability to have. So, Sam deciding whether he wants to attack or not. He could have tapped Tarmogoyf and Tireless Tracker to deal 5 damage, but if he waits a turn, then he's drawing 2 more cards and can be in a spot where it becomes much more safe. So Magnus is really looking to mill Amalgams here, because he's not very close to being able to Vengevine unless he hits multiple Gravecrawlers. Because remember, if you take a look at Gravecrawler, you do play it from the graveyard. You can cast it. It's not Bloodghast. So casting 2 Gravecrawlers does trigger Vengevine, which says if you cast 2 creatures in the same turn.
Mm-hmm. Then you get him back from the yard. So nothing doing here, though, for Magnus Lanto. He just has to pass the turn back.
Yeah, meanwhile, Sam is continuing to crack clues, continuing to make these trackers big, and he's got, given enough time, Sam's deck will win. That his deck does definitely have the better late game, but Magnus has potential to have much more explosive starts than what we saw this game.
Six clues now on the battlefield for Sam, going up to 8. Yeah.
Sam's actually in a lock here where every land he plays helps him crack clues, but it generates 2 clues, so he can never get out from under the crushing weight of all the clues.
Yeah. He's got to carry around all that value with him.
And Sam doesn't have something like a Cryptic Command, which could just tap everything down, but he does have a lot of different threats. Like, he also has 1 copy of Scavenging Ooze. He's got 1 copy of Pia and Kiran Nalar, because he has 4 Traverse the Ulvenwald. So at some point he's going to have access to these cards. And a Scavenging Ooze is not a card that Magnus can easily beat either.
Yeah, this damage is starting to pile up pretty quickly. There's a Lightning Bolt. He still has that Snapcaster Mage. He's got a Lightning Bolt in the graveyard as well. And even though Sam isn't incentivized to start attacking quite yet, we're going to see some big attacks in the next turn or two.
Yeah, I would be surprised if Sam didn't attack next turn, just because at this point the Lotless Troll can stop one of the giant trackers, but and the other one gets chumped by Amalgam. Then the 2 Goyfs plus Snapcaster deal 12, Bolt deals 15, for example. So Sam does just have lethal, so he might as well just wait and do it in one turn.
Magnus just keeps on dredging that Golgari Grave Troll.
And one reason to attack with Gravecrawler here is if Sam blocks it, then it dies, and then Magnus can replay Gravecrawler, replay the other Gravecrawler if he hit another one, and play a Vengevine.
Yeah, sadly, I don't think he did.
So it was in that case, it was a free bluff by Magnus.
Yes. Magnus is going to leave that Gravecrawler in the yard. Pass the turn back. Sam's going to crack a clue. He's now got an 8-7 and an 11-10 Tireless Tracker. Goifs are at 5-6, and this one has really gotten away from Lanto.
Yeah. Again, anytime you're playing against a blue opponent and they have 9 lands in play, then your primary game plan didn't work. Because look at what Lanto's deck can do. If he has the right draw, he can have 2 Vengevines and like 2 Prized Amalgams out on the second turn. It takes some luck to do that, but it certainly is possible.
Sam Black's deck is pretty sweet. You can see he's got a Jace down there, a Thought Scour.
Yeah, he's got a lot of 1 and 2 ofs here.
Yeah.
Like, for example, 1 copy of Seal of Fire. It's an enchantment for 1 red mana, and you can sack it to deal 2 damage to target creature or player. Again, it enables Tarmogoyf and Delirium. So you see the random enchantments and artifacts that just are designed to go to the graveyard. Apparently, because Oliver 2 had a Tireless Tracker in draft, it's getting played in all 4 formats. Because Magnus Lanto had them in his sideboard and lands in Legacy. All right, so this is like way more than lethal.
And in they come, and that's going to do it. Sam Black is going to take game 1 in impressive fashion, I have to say. Considering that he I saw him at lunch, and he's doing reasonably in the tournament. I can't remember his record.
He went 1-2 in the draft, so he has 4 losses right now.
Okay, so
he has
in
to
contention.
go 3-1.
He has to go 3-1, and he mentioned, no, maybe I shouldn't have brought a new brew.
Well, if he wins game 1, that is very valuable here, because when you play against a deck like Dredgevine, you expect Dredgevine to have a very good game 1 percentage. Then if your opponent has the right sideboard cards, for it to be much tougher post board, but it actually turns out Sam has not gone overboard on his graveyard hit here. He's got a Grafdigger's Cage, which stops cards like Gravecrawler or Prized Amalgam Narcomoeba from coming out of the graveyard. He also has a Bojuka Bog, which he can get with a enabled Traverse, because a Delirium Traverse, remember, can actually get any land, even though normally you do get creatures. So he's got Bojuka Bog, and then other than that, he doesn't have a lot that's critical here. So just 2 pieces of Dredge hit in the sideboard. Sam has to feel like he got a little lucky to win game 1, just because when you play against such a linear deck and you don't have answers, it can be pretty tough. But he is up a game, so he just has to win one of the 2 sideboard games.
Okay, let's head into game number 2 here. See if we can get a better start from Lanto.
Well, there it is. Faithless Looting is a huge part of it, because he can Faithless Looting, discard, like, first of all, draw 2, so maybe he has more options, but discard something like Golgari Gravetroll Bloodghast. And then next turn, he ends up being able to dredge the Gravetroll on his turn, and then play a land, get back Bloodghast. Well, first he's going to Faithless Looting again to hopefully off the Golgari Gravetroll, he dredges another Dredger. Then he casts Faithless Looting, dredging multiple times.
Because he can use those where it says draw 2 cards. Those each count for a dredge.
And then if he hits Prized Amalgams and he plays a land, Bloodghast comes back. He could, even without getting lucky at very much at all, he could have like a Bloodghast and a Prized Amalgam and a Gravecrawler in play.
Wow.
And the high end is much, much higher than that. It's like 2 Prized Amalgams, 2 Narcomoebas, and 2 Bloodghasts. Like that's well within the range here.
And that is, for Sam, like he just... Oh, did he just Bojuka Bog right here? Yeah, he did.
It looks like Sam just had his 1 Bojuka Bog, so he took away a lot of the explosive power of Lanto's opening draw.
Yeah, so now there's no dredgers around for Magnus Lanto. He didn't draw any off of this Faithless Looting either.
So now Magnus, Graveyard Hate is good, and if you try your piece of Graveyard Hate, Sam also has the one main deck Scavenging Ooze in his opening hand, so Sam could be squeaking out of this one. I mean, playing Scavenging Ooze and just having it active is so valuable against this deck because it just takes away Magnus's entire game plan.
So he's going to discard the Bloodghast to the Faithless Looting along with the Bloodstained Mire, then play a land, get back the Bloodghast, and also play a Neonate.
Yeah, and Sam is just going to follow up here with a Scavenging Ooze, which gives Magnus just one turn to have, to free reign of graveyard shenanigans.
Yeah, and he really isn't doing much, right? Faithless Looting flashback is going to take all his mana.
It looks like Sam's just going to play the Tarmogoyf just to not key Magnus into the fact that a Scavenging Ooze is coming, but drawing Stinkweed Imp was very good because now Magnus can sack Neonate, discard Stinkweed Imp, dredge Stinkweed Imp, and then hopefully go from there.
And Stinkweed Imp dredges for 5, right?
It does. It is dredge 5. Though it looks like Magnus is considering just playing the Imp to block the Tarmogoyf. That is one of the advantages of Sam not playing Scavenging Ooze. If Sam had played Scavenging Ooze, Magnus would be probably just going for it here. If Sam just played Tarmogoyf, which he did, now Magnus doesn't know there's a Ooze coming and might think that he can slow play the Imp and try to trade it off for Tarmogoyf. So it's really more exciting if he sacks the Neonate here.
Indeed. He's thinking about it. This is not an easy decision for Lanto. He's our defending champion here at the Magic Online Championship.
Neonate does have Menace, so getting in there is pretty safe. And, of course, Bloodghast comes back every time you play a land, which is going to happen this turn anyway, so you might as well attack.
So he gets in for 1 damage. The Neonate. Yeah, he's going for it.
There we go. Discard Neonate, dredge Stinkweed Imp, hit a Grave Troll and a Lotleth Troll. None of the real high value targets.
No.
Now Lanto can play a land. He could flashback Faithless Looting. He might want to just play Stinkweed Imp and set it up for next turn, not knowing, of course, that Scavenging Ooze is going to come down. Can only exile 1 card, though. Scavenging Ooze does. One of the disadvantages of waiting a turn to play it, which is what Sam did, is that Sam is going to only have 1 extra green mana left to use the Scavenging Ooze. So he's only going to be able to exile 1 card, which he might have a lot of work to do because here comes the Faithless Looting hit double Grave or dredge double Grave Troll. It did hit 2 prized amalgams, but because Lanto had to play the land first to get back Bloodghast, then those prized amalgams aren't coming back yet.
See, he's got a Life from the Loam here as well.
Yeah, which he can dredge to get back to keep hitting land drops, to keep putting Bloodghast into play. Also, sometimes you just start dredging and playing Grave Trolls. Like Grave Trolls are 7/7, 8/8, 10/10. Just it's +1/+1 for each creature in your graveyard. So, just stringing Grave Trolls together against a deck like Teamer or like Jund can be effective. A little less effective when you're staring down a Scavenging Ooze, but hopefully that's not the case all the time. So, Sam's going to play the Scavenging Ooze, and now he doesn't have a ton of options. He might just take out the Life from the Loam. He could also take out one of the prized amalgams or just take out the Vengevine. He's also got Bloodghast as a potential target.
Looks like he's going for a prized amalgam.
Yeah, if he's going to take out prized amalgam, he could just wait because they said a delayed trigger. It happens end of turn, but if that's what he thinks he's going to end up taking out, it's not that different. All right, so
he did not attack with a Tarmogoyf there.
No, he kept that back, though. This is going to work out, I think, pretty well for Magnus. He hit another prized amalgam off of the dredge. He has 2 Vengevines, and it looks like he's got 2 Gravecrawlers. So, all right, this is what the deck does. Look, Sam had turn 1 Bojuka Bog, turn 2 Tarmogoyf, turn 3 Scavenging Ooze.
Oh my God!
Look what Magnus is going to have in play.
What is happening?
He's going to have 3 Vengevines, 2 prized amalgams, 2 Bloodghast, and a Gravecrawler, as well as the Stinkweed Imp.
Oh my God! When he passed the turn, he was facing down a Bloodghast. I'm going to have to pop the graveyard in just to accommodate all the Oh my God! Look at that board.
And Tarmogoyf can block and eat one of those Vengevines, but Magnus could get 8 points of damage through by sacrificing a Vengevine, and then Next turn, he's going to have 2 prized amalgams in addition. One of the Vengevines will be dead. Sam does get to untap with Scavenging Ooze and multiple activations. Actually gets 10 damage through because one of the Bloodghasts is, well, if it attacks, it just gets blocked by Scavenging Ooze. So that's less impressive. I mean, Sam's got Lightning Bolt plus Tarmogoyf plus Scavenging Ooze activation, so Sam's certainly not out of this yet, but this is still an explosive turn, regardless of what ends up happening.
Now, does he get to follow up with more? Like, is this the type of deck that when it gets rolling like this, it just keeps going, or are we talking about that was kind of the trick?
Well, it's pretty resilient because Magnus still has a Gravecrawler in his graveyard. He hasn't brought him back. He still has now a Vengevine went back. Like, if Sam didn't have Scavenging Ooze and wasn't able to exile those cards, Magnus would be able to like dredge on his next turn, maybe play 2 things, or maybe just play 1 thing, get Amalgam back. He still has a steady stream of creatures. Also, if he dredged something like Life on the Loam, he could get back lands, then start dredging Grave Trolls, like I was saying. Again, that's not counting the fact that Scavenging Ooze is a very effective tool here, as is Tarmogoyf. Tarmogoyf brick walls one of the Vengevines, but right now, let's see. So Magnus attacks with everything. Sam blocks the 3 biggest creatures. Lightning Bolt's the other creature. Gains of life goes to 8 and takes 7 going to 1.
Even just as the board sits.
As the board sits, Sam goes to 1 if Magnus attacks with everything, and Magnus loses a bunch of his creatures, and then Sam attacks back for lethal, actually. So what Magnus needs to do is
hit another Gravecrawler?
Is hit a haste card. Like Bloodghast would actually be perfect, because Sam can exile 1 card, so he can exile a Vengevine if Magnus is getting too close to bringing that back.
Assuming he's dredging life. He's got a Stinkweed Imp as well. He hit a Bloodghast. Okay,
but since he dredged Stinkweed Imp instead of Loam, he's not able to play a land and get back Bloodghast. But instead, he gets to go Imp plus Gravecrawler, try to get back Vengevine. I assume it's going to get eaten by Scavenging Ooze. Sam gets attacked, and if Magnus goes for it and Sam has the Lightning Bolt, which he does, then Sam goes to 1 and Magnus dies on the crackback. So let's see what Magnus ends up doing.
Okay, that's going to trigger the other Vengevine.
Yeah, Sam has to Scavenging Ooze this Vengevine here, which he does. And so now Magnus, if he attacks with everything, he forces Sam to have a Lightning Bolt to survive.
Okay. Sam does have it, and he will be able to survive. But he's also, this is just Magnus trying to set up the kill next turn then?
Well,
because this Stinkweed Imp can still
Stinkweed Imp can block, so that blocks a Tarmogoyf. So it's not just game where it blocks a Scavenging Ooze. Sam does not have Delirium yet. Is that accurate? He's got Mishra's Bauble. He's got instant land
3,
artifact, so he's 3. So he can't search for like a Snapcaster Mage, because that would end the game here.
Oh, so close.
So Sam gets the Ooze blocked and takes 10, hits Magnus to 3. So Sam actually, he was able to survive this turn, but he's going to be slightly short of dealing lethal here.
Now, if one of his creatures dies, then he does have...
So he can attack with
Delirium.
everything.
Can he just do it post-combat?
Yeah, so let's see. He attacks with everything. Stinkweed Imp blocks Tarmogoyf or Scavenging Ooze, and Sam has exactly enough mana. So it looks like Sam is instead going to go he goes up to 4. He blocks 4 creatures. So Sam isn't dead here. So Sam, I think, has a good chance of winning the game next turn. But I think actually your line does work. If you attack with all 3 of your creatures, whether he blocks the Tarmogoyf or the Scavenging Ooze, you deal enough damage that you can then, and one of your creatures dies, you then traverse for Snapcaster Mage, Lightning Bolt. So instead, though, because he's got Scavenging Ooze and get him 3 more life, he's now at 4. He takes 2 from the Stinkweed Imps, goes to 2, and he can block the other 4 attackers. So he's not dead. And the Scavenging Ooze stops Magnus from playing cards out of his graveyard effectively, because it stops the best 3. So it's not necessarily going to stop every single card, but it's going to do a pretty good job. Let's take a look at Magnus's graveyard again
let's
here.
See what he...
So he's got
2 more Vengevines.
Well, he's got the 2 Vengevines that died.
Right.
Sam is presumably going to eat those with Scavenging Ooze. He's got Bloodghast. Sam is presumably going to eat that with Scavenging Ooze. And Prized Amalgam doesn't impact the board this turn. It comes back tapped in at the end of turn. So right now it's looking good for Sam. Let's see. Tarmogoyf shrunk because Life from the Loam got dredged. So Magnus is gonna Life from the Loam in order to get back this Bloodghast, and he's hoping. Did he hit? If he hit another Gravecrawler, that would be pretty relevant.
I didn't see.
But it didn't look like he hit another Vengevine and Stinkweed him. So I think Sam's gonna let him get back lands. I don't think you want to stop him from getting back the lands, because then you just die to all the attackers. And one of the keys of the format is not die to attackers.
Right. You didn't actually cover that one. But
No. Magnus in a tough spot. This is like the matchup he would choose to play every round.
Wow.
You know, the mid-range blue deck
mid-range.
with no graveyard hate, with like one Cage, one Bojuka Bog, one Scavenging Ooze. But Sam had the Bojuka Bog and he had the Scavenging Ooze, and that's why he put those cards in your deck. So it's like Sam is proactive and has a plan for linear strategies. Just going right down the list.
I know that. Yeah, we already saw the Bojuka Bog, and now we see the he actually has a Scavenging Ooze in the main deck, though, right? That's one of his targets for Traverse.
He does, and one of the reasons that Sam has like one P in Karanalar, one Eternal Witness, one Scavenging Ooze is that Traverse the Ulvenwald gives him effective 5 copies of it, assuming Traverse is on.
And Sam has very much built this deck to make that happen as often as possible. This very, very close game between Sam and Magnus, our defending champion. Both of these players, you can see their records on the side, are both at 6-4. Really would love to win this first game, or this first match of Modern, and set themselves up for 3 rounds to win maybe even just 2 of them and make it into the top 4. But certainly if they could win out, then they would be in.
Magnus, unlike last turn when Magnus attacked with everything, it was lethal if Jerry didn't have Bolt, so it was, I think, a pretty clear, good attack. This turn, it's a little more complicated than that, because he just knows that he's not going to be able to deal lethal, so he's trying to attack in a way that's productive without putting himself dead next turn.
You see a lot of blocks here, and this is technically lethal in the air, but that Scavenging Ooze has really done work for Sam Black. This is one of those ways that you can attack this graveyard strategy, and the life gain's been super relevant here too. He would have lost this game without it.
Yeah, every little bit of value from that ooze helps.
Yeah.
And Sam is going to devour one of the creatures. Looks like a prized amalgam.
Mm-hmm. Maybe another one.
He
No,
doesn't even have to hit the second one. He'll probably pick it up end of turn here. But now Sam just can attack with everything. And that will be enough damage. And that's not even counting things like, using Jace or to flashback Lightning Bolts or anything like that.
Right.
So, Bloodghast triggers.
Yeah, of course, the downside, right, is that all 3 of these creatures can't block.
Yeah, and Prized Amalgam will be tapped.
Right.
So, Sam's going to be able to attack with the Tarmogoyf and the Scavenging Ooze. Just rumble in there for enough damage to take it out Magnus. Sam's had a lot of creatures with +1 counters on it.
Yeah.
This match. He's got some 10 power Tireless Trackers, some 7 power Scavenging Oozes.
Yeah, for sure.
And now he has to think about, is Magnus really playing like an instant speed removal spell? It seems unlikely, but I guess he has to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
So I would imagine he does end up ultimately attacking, but he might as well, try to make his ghost as big as possible. Now, if Scavenging Ooze dies, Sam doesn't have lethal, except for the fact that Jace can still flashback Lightning Bolt. So Magnus would need a way to kill Scavenging Ooze and kill Jace, or kill Scavenging Ooze plus Tarmogoyf. And if he had those things, he would have just done them last turn.
Right. Sam Black getting ready to deliver the lethal attack here, and he's attacked with just enough to get the job done, and that is going to do it, though. Sam Black wins the match 2-0 with his innovative and very sweet, very cool deck there. That was some sweet stuff from Sam Black. I kind of want to throw that one together.
He knows he got away with something there.
Yeah.
That is a tough matchup. I would expect
matchup
Sam does not want to face Dredge, and he pulled out the victory, though. It was a close match.
All right, Kenji, in the red zone, what do you got for us?
Hey guys, Kenji Egashira back in the red zone. I've got a match between Daniel Grafensteiner and Mike Sigrist. Ad nauseum versus Jund. Let's get back down to the match right now, and we'll see where things lead off. It's Mike Sigrist on the play, only leads with a Raging Ravine. Daniel, on the other hand, Dark Slick Shores, Sleight of Hand, and a nice little Lotus Bloom over here getting suspended. We'll see what happens when that finally resolves. Mike's got a nice draw of his own, turn 2 Dark Confidant, Thoughtseize, taking Spoils of the Vault, and another Dark Confidant. So things going well for the Jund player, but that Lotus Bloom currently on one more counter. A turn 3 Phyrexian Unlife. If you guys don't know what this does, you don't lose the game for having 0 or less life. As long as you have 0 or less life, all damage is dealt to you as though its source had Infect. So we'll see what Daniel can put together after that Lotus Bloom resolves. Mike Sigrist's turn 4. He can only play Kalidas, Trader of Get. Now things get crazy. Lotus Bloom resolves. Daniel Grafensteiner adds a ton of mana off of that Lotus Bloom, casts Ad Nauseam, and in conjunction with Phyrexian Unlife, gets to draw his entire deck. Let's take a look at the cards that he's going to be drawing here momentarily. Let's make this a little bit bigger. And so you see his life total. It's at -1. It's at -9. It's at negative. It doesn't even matter. He can't lose the game because of that unlife. What is he looking for? Well, this deck has multiple win conditions. Lightning Storm being one of the main ones, but he's playing it safe since Mike Sigrist has 5 cards in hand. He doesn't want to get Mike to be able to discard cards and do it differently. So if that's the case, he has a backup win con in Laboratory Maniac, and all he has to do is cast a simple Serum Visions, draw a card, win the game. So Daniel Grafensteiner takes game 1 versus Mike Sigrist there. Let's go to the game 2 and see what happens between the Jund and Ad Nauseam players. Thoughtseize from Mike takes away that Lotus Bloom, ever so important in that last match. Tarmogoyf right off the top. Spellskite, though. We'll see if Mike can do anything to make that a 4-power Tarmogoyf. And in fact, he does have a Fulminator Mage to kill one of Daniel Grafensteiner's lands, which is very, very vital to this deck. It needs to hit that mana to be able to cast that important Ad Nauseam. Tarmogoyf still large and in charge. And a second Thoughtseize from Mike Sigrist actually prompts the concede from Daniel Grafensteiner, who's only left with 2 cards left in his hand at that, or 1 card after the Thoughtseize resolves. And we go quickly to a game 3. Let's see what can happen here. Daniel Grafensteiner leads with double Leyline of Sanctity and a Temple of Deceit. Mike, of course, cannot target Daniel anymore. Thoughtseize from the opposing side takes a Maelstrom Pulse.
Ooh.
Maelstrom Pulse would have been pretty nice on those double Leyline of Sanctities, let me tell you that. Mike, though, does have a Tarmogoyf as Daniel sets up his next few turns. Tarmogoyf in the red zone, only as a 2-power creature. But hey, so it goes. Scavenging Ooze the development while Daniel continues to cast cantrips such as Serum Visions. If you notice there, Mike Sigrist actually targeted himself with the Lightning Bolt to make the Tarmogoyf bigger. Something that you can do while the Leyline of Sanctity is on your opposing side. Ancient Grudge takes out the Pentad Prism, and Mike beats Daniel down to 5 life. Lotus Boom resolves, but on upkeep, after it does resolve, Mike flashes back the Ancient Grudge to take care of it. Daniel floats 3 black in response. Looks like he might be casting an Angel's Grace into an Ad Nauseam, and here we go again, kids. Remember, this is only turn 6. Let's take a look at the cards. Angel's Grace, similar to Phyrexian Unlife. Split second, 1 white. You can't lose the game this turn, and your opponents can't win the game this turn. Until end of turn, damage that would reduce your life total to less than 1 reduces it to 1 instead. So with Ad Nauseam, again, Daniel gets to draw, well, basically his entire deck. We can see the Lightning Storm already drawn, a bunch of lands, and he is in to the entirety of his deck. He has multiple Simian Spirit Guides, so even though he doesn't have any untapped lands, he can still produce some red mana, and conveniently enough, Lightning Storm is red. We'll see what happens here. It looks like we're going to get a ton of Lightning Storm triggers as Daniel continues to discard those lands from his hand, and he one-shots Mike Sigrist. Daniel takes the match 2-1. Let's throw it back to the booth, guys.
Wow. Great stuff, Kenji. That is insane. All of that going off at the, what in his upkeep or whatever crazy stuff there. All right, that will be it, though, for round 11 here from the Magic Online Championship.